Hey there, you, and welcome to Hair, Prayer, and Self-Care with the one and possibly many Kim Lowe. So if you're watching this video, then you probably know that it's a prayer video, so let's get to it. I first want to start off by praying for you, so here we are. Lord, thank you for this day. It wasn't promised, yet here we are. I pray you bless us, teach us, change us, and cleanse us daily as we strive to get closer to you. Speak to us throughout the day and always. Amen. Okay, so today I want to talk about something that God has been dealing with me for a couple years now, and that is covering one another, or just covering each other in just our situations or life. In Genesis 9, after the flood, Noah gets drunk and is passed out in his tent. One of his sons walk in on him and see this, and for whatever the case may be, he wanted his brothers to see. So he told his brothers, he said, hey, come look at dad. He's passed out in the tent, and maybe it's funny. Who knows? The two brothers, however, didn't want to see their father that way, or maybe they didn't want to bring shame to him. They wanted to keep, the peace and wanted to show respect for their father, whatever. What they did was they went into the tent, put a blanket over their father, but when they did this, they walked backwards so as to not even see their father in that state at all. And that is a very powerful story to me, because it really is just showing, covering one another, just not even physically, but, with verbally, mentally, it could be emotionally. Like, there's many ways that we can cover one another. That's not just physically. And God brought this story to my attention and, told me to work on covering one another. So to me, I like to say that I never gossiped, but that's just, not true. Anytime someone does something wrong to me, or anytime someone does something weird, of course, I want to share that with someone. I want to tell somebody like, hey, look what this person did. Isn't that weird? Aren't I in the right for thinking that's weird? And I don't want to be the only one thinking that. Well, that's not really what God calls us to do. God doesn't want us to speak negatively about people. He doesn't want us to bring shame to people. He doesn't want us to talk bad about one another. So I would say that's definitely a struggle that I was dealing with. Okay, let's face it, we're human. We make mistakes. That's what humans do. And we're different. And sometimes our differences are offensive to others. But does that mean that we should belittle people? That we should talk bad about them? That we should make them seem like less of a person because of it? Absolutely not. And that's something that I have grown to deal with. You would like to say, oh, I don't think that about people. I don't want to make people feel this way. But that is really what you're doing when you talk negatively about people, or when you say things that aren't, necessarily the best thing that you can say about a person. It's like, why do we have to bring up those things about that person? Why do we have to say the way that this person raises their kid is weird? Or why do we have to say the way this person dresses is weird? Why do we have to say those things? Why can't we say more uplifting things about one another? Why can't we say, oh, this person did this for me today? Or this person, I see this really positive trait in that person. Why is it so easy to talk negatively about one another, and why is it so hard for us to speak positively about one another? That shouldn't be the case. Once someone did something that wasn't to my liking, or something that was offensive to me or rude, of course I want to tell people about it, but I know I shouldn't. So once I get in my mind like, oh, let me tell my sister, let me tell my mom, let me tell my husband, let me tell a friend, it's like, obviously that is getting into my mind. So I'm like, okay, now that I say, oh, I'm going to tell someone about this, I have to stop myself and I say, okay, no, I'm going to bring it to God instead, or I'll just keep it to myself, because some things are just not that serious. Sometimes we just want to have conversation just to talk about something, but I'd rather talk about something more beneficial. So I'd have to stop myself in my tracks. And don't get me wrong, it's really hard, especially when you're used to, saying negative things about people, or saying things that are just not the best thing. Trying to keep my mouth shut is really hard, but it's becoming easier because I'm like, okay, no, I don't want to make this person look bad. I want to portray them in the best way possible. I'm going to cover them. I'm not even going to look back at it, or I'm just not even going to let people even see that. I don't want people to see that part of others, so I'll just keep that to myself. And I feel like that, even though it's hard, it's definitely possible. And of course, don't get me wrong, during this time, I've definitely said some things, but it's becoming less and less over time. it started to make me feel gross or feel bad when I started to say negative things about people. And now it's getting to the point where I don't even have the thought of talking about people. You know, it's like sometimes I will still think in my head, like, I did not like when that person did that, or that wasn't cool. But then I'm like, but nobody has to know that. I can just keep that to myself. That's not something that the world needs to know, you know, because it's not that serious. And like I said, I want to help others. So yeah, I want to show respect for people even when they're not around. I want to show respect for people in the way that I talk to them, talk about them, and the way that they're portrayed when I, you know, even think about them. You know, I don't even want to think negatively about people. Like, of course, there are some things that we should stay away from and some things that we should, you know, talk about with others, especially if it's going to resolve an issue. But if it's not, and you're just talking about it just to talk about it, then it's not really benefiting anyone, and it's just a little degrading to people. And I always think about myself. I don't want people talking about me in a certain way or bringing up negative things about me. So I'm going to try to do my best to not do that with others. You know, it's just the best thing that we can do. It's covering one another. It's showing respect. It's not bringing shame to anybody. And you get to practice on keeping your mouth shut, which is a really hard thing to do. So I'm still a work in progress, but I just wanted to share that with you guys. It's possible, just in a more practical way. What I would say is anytime someone wrongs you or does something weird or something that doesn't show their right character and you want to share it with others, just realize you want to share that with someone. You're like, I have to tell somebody. I have to tell someone. Right after you say, I have to tell someone, just say, okay, you know what? Let me tell God. Or, you know, I'll tell somebody, but show this in a respectful way where it's not like I'm trying to bash them, but trying to resolve a situation. So once you get that thought in your head, just say, God, take it. I don't want to talk bad about people. I want to cover them. And that has made such a difference for me because I really want to show everyone I know love even when I'm not around them. So, okay, I wanted to keep this short, and don't mind the room. This is my son's room, both my sons, but it has the best lighting, as you can tell. So, all right. I just want to thank you for watching if you got this far and for taking the time. And I pray that God really helps you with covering one another and not only thinking highly of people, but speaking highly of them too, even when they're not around. So, all right. Thanks. And I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.